Welcome to the Canon in 5. We take the most reputable books in history and distill them for you. Every video covers one chapter, explained in simple words through 5 key points. Here is what you need to know from today's reading.
All right, so first up, we're going to challenge the way most of us, the way we were probably taught to think about our feelings, especially the really difficult ones. We're going to unpack that old and, let's be honest, kind of flawed model of emotional control.
So, let's just get right to the heart of it with a question. Are negative emotions really the enemy? I mean, think about it. For most of us, there's this gut reaction when we feel anger or sadness or fear. We see it as a problem that needs to be fixed, or an enemy we have to defeat.
And this is the perfect picture of that old-school approach. For a long time, the thinking was that our emotions are basically like a volume knob. A feeling gets a little too loud, a little too intense, and the so-called healthy thing to do, just turn that volume way down. The whole goal is just minimization.
But here's the thing. What if that's just completely wrong? This quote from our source, the Oxford Handbook of Self-Determination Theory, really flips the script. It's saying that emotions aren't obstacles in our way. No, they're data. They're info designed to help guide us.
Okay, so if emotions are messages, then we've got to learn how to listen, right? And that brings us right to our second point, the integration approach. This is a much healthier, much more adaptive way to go than just trying to mute everything.
Now, the official term for this is Integrative Emotion Regulation, or IER for short. And you got to notice the key words here, autonomous and volitional. This isn't about brute force or forcing yourself to feel a certain way. It's all about becoming aware of what you're feeling so you can actually choose your response freely and intentionally.
So how does this work in real life? Well, it really boils down to 2 simple steps. Step 1 is what's called receptive attention. Basically, just notice the feeling. Let it be there without slapping a good or bad label on it. Then, step 2 is intentional exploration. This is where you get curious. You actually ask the feeling, hey, anxiety, what's up? What are you trying to tell me right now?
So let's just toss out that old volume knob idea for a minute. A way better way to think about it is like a compass. See, your emotions aren't the storm itself. They're the compass in the storm, giving you the data you need to navigate, pointing you towards what really matters.
Okay, to really get why this integration thing is such a game changer, it helps to see it next to 2 other common styles people use, suppression and dysregulation. And putting them side by side is our third point.
Yeah, this table just lays it all out, nice and clear. Just look at the attitude difference, right? With the integrative style, emotions are just information, but with suppression, they're seen as threats. And with dysregulation, they're just totally overwhelming. And of course, those attitudes lead to totally different actions and, as you can see, wildly different outcomes.
So here's the bottom line on those other 2. With suppression, you never really deal with the emotion, you're just shoving it into a closet. And with dysregulation, it's the opposite. You feel completely hijacked, like you have no control at all. Either way, it's not a great place to be.
Okay, so we get what IER is and how it's different, but does it actually work? Is it worth it? Well, for our fourth point, let's get into the benefits, which are all backed by research.
First up is this really cool idea called the immunization effect. So check this out. Leaning into a tough feeling might make it feel a little more intense for a moment, but by doing that, you're actually inoculating yourself against its long-term negative power. You process it, you get through it, and it has less and less of a grip on you over time.
Benefit number 2, it actually makes you smarter about chasing your goals. Think about it. When you hit a snag and you feel that frustration or disappointment, that's not just a bad feeling. It's crucial feedback. It's telling you, hey, maybe we need to try something different here. It helps you learn and get better.
Okay, this one's huge. It also has a massive impact on our relationships. The research is pretty clear. People who use this integrative style have more empathy, they're just better at being there for their partners and friends when things get tough, which, no surprise, leads to way deeper, stronger connections. And all of this rolls up into the 4th big benefit, just a greater sense of well-being overall. And according to the theory behind all this, it's because this approach directly feeds our 3 basic psychological needs. Our need for autonomy, that's choice, competence, feeling like you're good at things, and relatedness, feeling connected.
So that naturally leads to our 5th and final question. If this stuff is so important, where does it even come from? And the evidence points pretty strongly in one direction. Our emotional habits get wired in early based on how we were raised.
And this slide really shows the 2 sides of that coin.
On one side, you have autonomy-supportive parenting. This is where a child's feelings are respected and validated. That's the fast track to developing that healthy, integrative style. But on the flip side, you've got controlling parenting, which uses things like guilt and pressure. And that, unfortunately, tends to create these suppressive or dysregulated patterns.
And you know, these controlling tactics can be really subtle. It's not always about yelling or punishment. It can be something like conditional regard, giving more love and affection when a kid does what you want, and pulling it away when they don't. And get this last one. Even pressuring a kid to share their feelings can backfire if it's not on their own terms. It becomes another form of control.
So, what's the big takeaway here? The foundation of healthy emotional regulation isn't about forcing yourself to feel or not feel something. It's all about fostering a real sense of choice and, maybe most importantly, curiosity about what's going on inside you.
And that just brings us perfectly to this last powerful quote from the handbook. It says that psychological growth doesn't come from running away from negative emotions. It comes from taking an intentional interest in them. That curiosity, that's the key. That's what unlocks the message they're trying to send.
And so we'll leave you with this one final question to think about. What would actually change for you in your work, in your relationships, just in your day-to-day life, if you started treating your emotions less like monsters you have to fight and more like messengers you need to listen to?